racial equity, environmental equity, I'm all for that. But how do you define that? Because it's confusing to some of us as it relates to the environment. How do you define that?
Senator Sullivan, and I too appreciated your time yesterday and getting to visit on issues about your special and unique state, the great state of Alaska. So if I understand your question, I think of serving all Alaskans.
But I'm talking about that. They do a lot on racial equity, environmental equity. These are new terms. I didn't know what they meant until the Biden administration came out. I still don't know what they mean, but what do you think they mean in the environmental area?
Senator Sullivan, so this is one of the 4 priorities this administration set out, and the Fish and Wildlife Service, under my direction so far, and if confirmed, we will continue to have a robust implementation of social justice, racial equity. Racial equity means to me, Senator, is treating everyone fairly and being inclusive in how we work with everyone and making all feel that they belong and are part of the outdoor experience.
Let me give you my definition as far as I've seen it. I think there's been 19 executive orders or executive actions from this administration that are focused on Alaska, mostly shutting down Alaska, harming Alaskans. They don't ask, they just do it. I think the Biden administration's environmental justice agenda is trying to help minority populations unless they're indigenous people in Alaska. That's what I think. Because every action, so many of the actions that this administration takes harms Alaska Native people. I mean, they almost go out of their way. ANWR, King Cove, the Alaska Native Vietnam Veteran Allotment Act, which the Secretary committed to me that she would expedite. She's put a delay on that. Vietnam veterans, Mr. Chairman, who are Native, who got screwed by their country, are now going to die before this bill is implemented. The sea otter management, I mean, the list is so long, and oh, by the way, the $2 trillion relief bill that had a provision saying tens of thousands of Alaska Natives don't get relief. Could you imagine any other group in America where the Congress and the President, the Democrats in the Congress say all these minorities get relief for COVID, but one group in one state, they don't get any relief? It's called discrimination, last time I looked. So I want you to, and let me give you one other one. This one you and I talked about. This is why I get so riled up about these issues. This is a study by the American Medical Association. It shows where people in America, their life expectancy increased from 1980 to 2014 or decreased. Unfortunately, in a few places in our country, it decreased, mostly because of the opioid epidemic. The part of America that increased the most life expectancy was Alaska, particularly the Native communities. And here's a reason why: resource development, responsible resource development. So when this administration targets my state to shut down these opportunities, it is literally a matter of life and death. And when U.S. senators like Senator Heinrich of New Mexico constantly send letters to the administration saying, hey, shut down this Alaska project, that Alaska project, it really, really riles me up. So here's my question for you. I don't want my constituents' life expectancy to go negative in the wrong direction. It's going the right direction now. North Slope, Northwest Arctic Borough, Aleutian Island Chains, that's all because they had responsible resource development opportunities. This administration is trying to crush those. And literally, for my constituents, a matter of life and death. And for the Native people, again, Biden administration, environmental equity seems to exclude a certain indigenous population in America, my constituents. You and I had a long talk about this yesterday. I would like to get your commitment on every one of these attempts to lock up my state, that you look at hurting Is it going to hurt Alaskans, working families? Is it going to hurt Native people? Because usually it is, and nobody's asking us. And your agency is a huge offender. You care to comment on this? You can tell it makes me a little bit upset. And I just want to know. The discrimination against Indigenous people in my state needs to stop. The war on working families against people in my state needs to stop. And your agency is going to be a big part of it. So what's your thinking on this? And you can be as long or short as you want.
Senator Sullivan, thank you for that question. And again, I appreciated visiting with you on this issue yesterday. And racial equity, Alaskan Natives are very important. I know to
they don't seem important to this administration. They seem targeted, to be honest.
And if I am confirmed, the Fish and Wildlife Service will work very closely with Alaska Natives. I care very much how we deliver our conservation mission in Alaska. As an example, and I know that we talk about Alaska Natives and Alaska Native corporations differently than we do tribes in the lower 48, but I do have experience in working closely with tribes on a number of issues. And so I look forward to absolutely being in contact with you, Senator Sullivan, working closely with you and making sure, if confirmed, the Fish and Wildlife Service delivers fairly, transparently with Alaska Natives corporations, but all Alaskans.
Yeah, all Alaskans. Because this really, it's easy for my colleagues in the administration to kind of, hey, let's shut down Alaska, right? It's a Republican state. There's only 730,000 people there. The radical environmental groups are always asking us to shut it down. Let's do it. This administration is doing it even more than the Obama administration, which is kind of remarkable. And it's hurting people.
Senator's time has more than expired.
Mr. Chairman, it's a really important issue
but I would invite.
I hope we can have a hearing in this committee. My state's being targeted. Targeted. They're not targeting Delaware, that's for damn sure. And it's really hard on the people I represent, and I'm getting more and more mad about it, and I think you can understand.
Sure. I would invite the senator to stay. I'm going to ask some questions you're welcome to ask. If no one else shows up, you're welcome.